Hi, everyone. I've never been a big fan of that message to be continued, especially when it appears at the end of movies or TV shows that I'm watching. I don't think I have the patience to wait as the excitement and thrill of bringing closure to what I'm watching captivates me. That's why I avoid watching TV series that have that message to continue from one episode to another because I just simply can't be hostage to the idea of what will happen next. Speaking of which, we've come to the end of our Peel Talk series this year, and at the end of this ministry, at least for the time being. Thank you for supporting what I hope has been an encouraging time of devotion for you as you watch through this series that we started around the same time last year. So, in some ways, it's to be continued, but just not sure when it will resume. That phrase to be continued has also various connotations for us as well. We're in a continuing season of this pandemic. We're anxiously waiting what will happen next. We're eager to know how the next year will unfold. All we know it's to be continued. But it doesn't have to be a disappointing or discouraging to be continued. It can actually be refreshing and encouraging. It is no exaggeration to say that we need Christ present to our view and for our fellowship more than we need anything else. In First John chapter 3 verse 2, which forms the basis of our final episode of our weekly Peel Talk this year and for the foreseeable future. John wrote, "Beloved, we are God's children now. It does not yet appear what we shall be, but we know that when he appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is." To the degree that we can see Jesus now in his word, we are changed into his image. When he comes to be seen in his full glory, our transformation will be complete. And it all happens because of seeing him, gazing steadily at him, as that verse implies. Our needs here at the end of this year, as we enter into another year, are not primarily material or even physical, but spiritual. It has always been that. We need to be the kind of people that radiate the beauty and truth and value of Christ. We need to be like lights shining in a dark place, which means we need to constantly look to Jesus. We need to gaze at Christ. John was given a vision of the reality of Christ later on in his life so that he can write and send that message to the body of Christ. Christ wants the church to have a clear vision of who he is, his reality, and his presence despite our failings. John gets to look at Jesus Christ while we get what he wrote about in his books. The church needs the gospel as much as those that are outside of it. But this is not because Christ wants to be distant and impersonal with his churches. It is because he wants to come to us in and through his word, which is why we put this weekly Peel Talk in the first place. We'd like to present the word to you in its complete and perfect form because Jesus wants us to seek him through his word and know him by his word and gaze upon him steadily through his word. And when we do, the Lord stands forth from his word in ways beyond the merely rational and intellectual possibilities of reading it. This particular verse brings important reflections for us individually and corporately. Questions like, how is Jesus revealed in us? How have we reflected him in our message, in our ministry, and in the mission that God has called us to? How is the reality of who Jesus is manifested in our church, in our community? How will we ensure that Jesus is the prevailing reason for our actions? As we look to Jesus again and again, the only concrete and credible focus we can safely have year after year, we need to be refreshed in the hope that we will be like him as we submit and surrender to the Spirit's leading and lordship. We can be sure that Christ stands amid his church, even with all their failings and faults. It is he who gives their credibility to the world. He gives conviction to their witness and commitment to their walk. But it is only when we submit completely to him that we will prove of our walk. And because he stands in our midst, we can no longer be complacent. We must remain vigilant, connected to the cause, committed and convinced of who Christ really is. As John saw him in life and in the vision given him much later, he spoke of Jesus Christ and submitted to his lordship. May we do the same, for we can only grow immensely when we gaze at Jesus intensely. The mystery of all things is revealed through the majesty of who Christ is. This is Pastor Jonathan Bernardo from Green Hills Christian Fellowship Peel in our weekly Peel Talk, signing off for now, to be continued. God bless.